Hey there, and welcome to the Life After Losses video blog. My name is James Levesque. I am an author, parent, and a double widower who's learned a thing or two about life's unexpected turns. Well, on this blog, it's my way of showing that there's a vibrant life after loss and hopefully inspiring some personal transformation along the way. You can think of it kind of like a roadmap through the twists and turns of grief, but we've got a couple of scenic detours are thrown in. Now, today in entry number 194, we're tackling a topic that's as challenging as it is important: learning to embrace the different. A reminder of a back to school season memory from a decade ago got me thinking about how our lives shift after losing someone close. Now, we'll dive into the world of clashing parenting styles, those pesky comparisons that we can't help but making, and the art of adapting to a new normal. And I'm pretty sure it's more interesting than it sounds, and it's definitely more useful. So whether you're navigating loss or just trying to make sense of life's constant changes, stick around. You might just find a new perspective hiding in plain sight. So let's get ready to embrace the different. It's back to school season, and I was reminded of an event that took place 10 years ago, which relates to last week's topic about being the best of those we've lost. Now, it should come as no surprise to anyone who's ever been a parent, but parents have different ways of doing things. And this was put on full display for me 10 years ago. And I mentioned before that I used to travel for work nearly every week since 1998. And I met my husband while actually traveling on one of those trips. I liked the job and I liked to travel, and I continued to do so even after we decided to be parents. I missed a few things in those early years, and I recall coming home from a trip once and leaning down to give our baby daughter a kiss. She screamed and cried like she didn't know me, and that hit hard. Since I was traveling, Bob became a stay-at-home parent who worked on several different MLM projects, and I still have a basement full of product as proof. And as a stay-at-home parent, he was able to spend a lot of time with the kids and make sure that they had what they needed. So when he suddenly died in January 2014, it was all on me. The novelty that had. My parenting style was and is different. When I bought back to school items that year, I did so online. Leaving the house and going to a packed store to buy standard things was not my idea of fun. Bob, on the other hand, he excelled at it. Now, what happened next kind of surprised me, because one of my kids told me that Daddy Bob did it better. I didn't know what that meant. How does one screw up shopping for pencils, crayons, paper, and folders? But apparently I did. And it's a decade later, and I'm still kind of scratching my head on that one. Later in the school year, that same child went on a sleepaway school trip and told me when returning home that they cooked better than I did. Daddy Bob cooked better than I did. It may have been around the time that I was experimenting in the kitchen. Here's the point. It's okay to do things differently. Your whole life after losing someone is different. We can rail against the different, or we can learn to embrace it. My child was pushing back on the different, though there wasn't an alternative. And while I could be the stay-at-home dad I needed to be, and I could try those things I loved about Bob, I would never, and could never, replace him or what he brought to our family. It reminds me of falling in love again. The first husband was gone, but I still loved and still love him. Bob could never replace him. He knew that, and I knew that. So even though I was in love again, it was different. I had to learn to embrace the different. And I did that by, perceiving reality. And you might remember that from the purpose framework in Grief Recovery for Adults. I had to remind myself that there is no comparison between the two. I had to push the desire to compare out of my mind consciously. I knew they were both different, but it's easy to compare. So I had to remind our children that it's okay that we have differences, just as we'd previously shared that different families exist, different races exist, and different religions exist. I shared that if we all wore white t-shirts, the world would look pretty boring. And I shared that a rainbow is pretty because of the spectrum of colors, and all those different colors can create something beautiful. I didn't hear too many more references to Daddy Bob doing things better, but I did hear a few about how we did things differently. Like stacking the dishes in the cabinets. I like things the way I like them. But when he was home all the time, I deferred to his needs. Learning how to embrace the different is a skill we can all use, whether we're grieving or not. The diversity in our experiences and lives allows us to keep learning, growing, and experiencing new things. Now, I'd like you to reflect on these questions. Number one, think about a recent change in your life. How did you initially react to it? How might your experience be different if you approached it with an attitude of embracing the different? Number two, can you recall when you unfairly compared two people or situations? How did that affect your perception and emotions? Number three, what one area in your life where you tend to resist change or differences? What small step could you take to be open to different in this area? Number four, how has diversity or different enriched your life in ways you may not have initially expected? Number five, reflect on a challenging transition that you've faced. What lessons did you learn from embracing the different in that situation? A friend of mine shared a photo of banana slices on pizza the other day. I don't know how that would taste, but I'd be willing to try. So does it matter that it's a little different? Don't be afraid of different. Embrace it. Different is always going to be there. And now it's your turn to embrace the different in your life. Share one way that you've learned to accept or appreciate something different in your life recently. Your story might inspire others to see the beauty in change and diversity. And if you found this post helpful, consider sharing it with a friend who might be struggling with change or loss. And sometimes knowing we're not alone in our experiences can make all the difference. Until next time, thanks for listening.